Welcome back to Believers IAS Academy. In today's topic of the day discussion, we will be discussing an international relation topic, especially the relationship between India and Japan. And of course, why is this important? It is important because of the recent visit of the Indian Prime Minister to Japan, marking his 8th visit in his entire tenure, and this visit was to attend the very recently concluded 15th annual summit. The 15th annual summit between the India and Japan was recently attended by the Prime Minister of India, and this marks the eighth visit to Japan of the Prime Minister himself, and also this is the very first meet with respect to the very first meet with the Japan Prime Minister also. So of course, why is this important? Because it is a bilateral summit, and this is the first bilateral summit since 2018, and also it is that because it reflects deepening special and strategic global partnership between both the countries. So of course, this video is not with respect to what happened in this particular summit, but here holistically this video is to try and understand the relationship between both the countries, because especially we have mutual relationship, bilateral defense, strategic relationship with many countries, but the kind of relationship that India has or developed with Japan over the period of time is completely noteworthy to be able to understand or to discuss on that. So that is the reason why we have a dedicated video to understand the relationship between India and Japan in a very simple way, or to try and give everything in a nutshell, right? So even before we try and understand the relationship between both the countries from all the perspective, let's say from the defense side, from the collaboration side, let's say the strategic collaboration side, from the bilateral side, we will first take a simple overview. Okay, the simple overview with respect to India and Japan, if we have to talk, of course a lot of people know about few important dates. We have 2000, 2006, and then we have 2014, right? So these are some of the important dates which is absolutely important to understand, because this is when few important things happened. One is the global partnership, which started, the relationship, the foundation of the relationship, in fact in the modern era, started from the global partnership, where both the nation collectively agreed to open its sectors and in fact to provide for global partnership between both the countries. And then in the year 2006 came another partnership, which is the strategic and the global partnership, where the partnership was, or the collaboration was, not just limited to various sectors, but now was extended to certain critical sectors also. And then came the special strategic and global participation, or global partnership, where it was not just extended to the critical sectors of both the countries, but also was extended to all of the things, in fact at the both regional and also the national level, right? So the cooperation in terms of enhancing both the countries' trade, security, mutual understanding, even in terms of cultural exchange, both at the regional level and also at the national level. So these are some of important developments that we know, but the relationship between both the countries has not completely confined to what happened ever since 2000, but we have to see that we have been enjoying this particular relationship with Japan ever since the ancient times, all the way to colonial period, and even during the post independent time, or even I can call it the independent time. So ancient, ever since the emergence of Buddhism as a new religion in the 6th century, right? It was transmitted to Japan through China and Korea, and we had many great monks who had also attended the consecration of the Lord Buddha, and followed by we have many instances, especially in the year 1893, when the famous Swami Vivekananda, he was en route to Chicago to give his famous speech, stopped at Japan just to witness or just to see the country how it is, considering the immense relationship that both the nation had. And also talking about the post-independent period, we have many instances when Japan has actually supported India. Speaking of which, the Indian National Army by the Subhash Chandra Bose, right? So this was highly backed by Japan. It was really supported by Japan. So now when you see the relationship between both the countries have been rooted ever since a very long period of time. In fact, the DNA of both the country, I can say, is pretty much intertwined, right? So this is that kind of the journey that both the nations have witnessed. And also this kind of is very important for India, considering all the present issues that is going on, especially the major one is the tariffs of the USA, and also it kind of helps India to tackle its another adversary, China. The dominance of China in the Indian Ocean region, and also the dominance of China in the Pacific Ocean, because India is sandwiched between both these superpowers, or ought to be superpowers, because of many reasons. China, with respect to the dominance it is trying to hold in the Indian Ocean Pacific region, and then USA with its USA's tariffs and all of it. So now one of the easiest way or the most trusted partner of India, especially in this particular difficult situation, is Japan, because of its huge connection or huge relationship that has developed over the period of time. And for the same, we also have to study about another important there are a lot of important policies. One is India's Act East policy, right? And also we have Indian Ocean and Pacific region, a collaboration to make sure that the hold between both the nations are found, or let's say, especially to access the Pacific Ocean, there are few treaties or few agreements between both the countries, especially Japan's, if I'm not wrong, I'm not getting the word, it's Free and Open India Pacific, FIOP, yes, FOIP. So this is one of the initiative by the Japan. It is the Free and Open Indo-Pacific, which is also joined by India. In fact, it is pretty much inclined with India's policies in terms of how India wants to see itself as a competitor or as a participant in the Indian Ocean Pacific region, right? So these are all various initiatives. In fact, we are just brainstorming and we're just simply trying to connect the dots to tell you or to give you the picture as to what is the relationship between both India and Japan, and why is this relationship or this summit is important with respect to the present relevance. So now I think it is very clear. We have a very strong relationship between this country from a very long period of time, and considering the present problem of India with respect to both of these nations, China and USA, it is most predicted go-to, most predicted option, or the most reliable option to India to ensure that it diversifies and also it tries to strengthen its collaboration with other countries, especially here the Japan, right? So this is the major reason as to why the summit took place, one of the major reason. Anyway, we will discuss what happened in the summit probably in a different video, but now we will stick to the relationship or the video solely categorizing or talking about the India-Japan in terms of various aspects. So now, first is the strategic and the security cooperation. So we have seen a lot of, in terms of strategy, so this is part of both the countries' strategic collaboration. And talking about the defense, there are many joint declaration, especially on the security cooperation, which took place in 2008, and there has been a lot of agreement, especially the reciprocal supplies agreement, which took place in 2020, and both the nations, they engage in joint exercises, right? Malabar, Jimex, Dharma, Milan. So these are all joint exercises where both the countries' superpowers, both the countries' naval powers, I mean the military power, exercise brotherhood or show their cooperation in terms of how they participate in these various exercises, joint exercises. So that is also important. And then in 24-25, the participation of service chiefs from both the countries, especially where during or the conduct of these joint exercises by both the countries. So this is with respect to the security and cooperation. Now talking about the trade and economic relations, very recently as of 2024-2025, India has recorded, right, a bilateral trade of $25.15 billion, which is increasing, because in 2024 or 2023-24, it was somewhere around $22 billion, right? So from $22 billion to all the way for $25.15 billion, you can understand the worth of both the countries' trade, especially for India. So this is the bilateral trade with respect to both the countries, and you can see how important this is. And also Japan is India's 5th largest FDI source. So all the FDI sources that comes to India from various nations, of which Japan is the 5th largest, where we have cumulatively received approximately up to $43 billion, and this was ever since December 2024. And also another important data or fact, that more than 1,400 Japanese companies are still in India, of which 5,000 establishments are already established, and there are 1,400 Japanese companies in India. This pretty much depicts, or this pretty much reflects how actively India and Japan is in frequent collaboration, both in terms of strategic and also in terms of economic perspectives, right? So this is also one important data which can be used in answer writing, essay, and all of it. So hence I've put this as well. Then as both the countries have even thought of collaborating on or let's say investing on certain important emerging areas, like especially the manufacturing of semiconductors, artificial intelligence, clean energy, especially the International Solar Alliance is what we have, a collaboration with Japan. So that is one. And then we have startups, and then the supply chain. So these are the areas where both the countries, even in the long run, is planning to collaborate so that it would do good for both the countries, or it is a win-win for both the countries. And then it is even said that it is likely, the Japan is likely to raise its investments target from 5 trillion yen to almost 7 to 10 trillion yen, which also is pretty much a good indicator to show that the trade, or especially the relationship between both the countries, is not just limited to its trade front, but also, trade front for the present motive, but also on the long run, that both the countries are thinking to run alongside each other, right? So this is one good indicator which states that India can pretty much rely on Japan. And then talking about the development and the multilateral cooperation, Japan has been India's largest official development assistant. ODA is also called as official development assistance, and this service has been given by Japan ever since 1958. And under this, so this is, if you have to understand, this is pretty much like under this particular ODA, India takes loan, India borrows loan from Japan, and unlike other commercial loans that India take, this particular loan that is given by Japan to India is very cheap, or I can say the interest rate is not that hefty, and also the payable, the returnable, or let's say the nature of this particular loan is usually long term. So there won't be any immediate stress on the government to even address this particular loans, and these are the loans which the country mostly uses for various critical infrastructures, for the building of critical infrastructures. Like one example is the flagship project, the Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail. In fact, it is considered to be India's first bullet train project, and the funding, right, in fact, is from the ODA. And ever since 1958, Japan has been supporting India, and this is also one of the important function or important thing or factor between both the countries. So ODA, very important. Then this particular development, or the assistance by Japan is what India receiving, has also helped India expand its cooperation in railways, construction of more number of railways, or bringing more technology in the railways. Especially we spoke about the green coach, right? The recent introduction, the government is planning to introduce the green coach, especially in the Himalayan regions. We had made a video on that. Please go do check it. So investment of those kind, right, and also building of more roads, right, more big superfast lanes, mobility infrastructures, right. So now you can give an idea as to what the vision of both the country is, right. So apart from that, talking about the multilateral cooperation, it's not just in terms of both the countries, not just limited to bilateral cooperation, but also both the countries have shown their solidarity even at the multilateral collaboration level, where they have their presence in the Quad, right, and especially in the International Solar Alliance. We have the CDRI, and we have the supply chain. CDRI is especially related to the building of disaster resilient infrastructures. So even here we have seen the multilateral cooperation between both the countries, and also the supply chain resilience. So this is from the development and the multilateral cooperation front of both the nations. And culturally, as we discussed in the very beginning, that Buddhism went to Japan from India, right, way back in 6th century. So that is one of the initiation, or let's say the initial connection that started. And also in the year 2023, 2024, it is also considered that the year of tourism exchange, right, and Himalayas with Mount Fuji. There's a plan that a tourism exchange has to be established, a kind of a program between Himalayas and the Mount Fuji. So this kind of shows how important both the nations are even trying to build the collaboration, even to enhance or strengthen its cultural tourism, right, by ensuring that all these accesses are being made, right. And then 665 academic partnerships, programs like Edu Connect and Skill Connect. This is some of the important things that we have seen over the period of time. And talking about the Indian diaspora in Japan, there are roughly about 54,000, in fact 54 plus, mainly in the IT and the tech field, especially the engineers. And in terms of talking on the long run, skilling Indian youth plus addressing Japan's aging workforce. So both the countries have its own shortcomings. One is with respect to the lack of sufficient skills in the Indian youth, and also another biggest problem with Japan is with respect to increasing of its aging population, right, addressing Japan's aging workforce, which means the more number of people in their old ages have been is increasing. So now this will greatly affect their let's say as a whole economy. Why? You don't have the sufficient youth population who are skilled enough to employ them for generating or let's say for the economy, in order to ensure that they help the economy to grow, right. So majority of the population, if you see the demography of Japan, the majority of them are aging. If you see the demographic trend, it's kind of pretty much bulged like this, means the age category is very high. But on the other hand, in India's case, it is not that so. We have more Indian youths, but the problem is with respect to lacking sufficient skills. So on the long run, both the countries is trying to bring out a collaboration, or trying to build something between them, which will address the bottlenecks of both the countries. Anyway, that's all for this video. We have tried and understood in brief at least what is the relationship between the India and Japan. Now before we end the video, let's solve one prelims question. With reference to India-Japan relationships, consider the following statements. Japan is the leading contributor of ODA, Official Development Assistance to India, since 1958. The Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail project is being developed with the Japanese technology and assistance. Malabar, Jimex, Dharma Guardian, Milan are some of the joint military exercises conducted between India and Japan. Please use the comment section to leave your answers. Anyway, this is all for today's video. Signing off, this is Madan Gopal. Have a beautiful day.